and then obviously the character is going to become more complex. For example, in games, you need to create, and in VR experience, you need to create the in-game character, the NPC, and you need to also create the character of the person who is using the game. So you need to create more than one character, obviously, and these characterizations need to work together, because in some points, especially in particular games, you need to have an NPC and the user who would need to develop together throughout the gaming experience itself. Even in a website, even in advertising and promotion, you need also to understand the character through segmentation. For example, you're talking about Bob, who's I don't know, who is a secretary at a law firm, and who works from Monday to Friday. He's off on Saturdays and Sundays. He likes going partying on Saturdays, going for a pizza on Friday. He likes to order takeout, and he likes to cook twice a week. So here we're getting to know Bob, all right? And Bob suddenly becomes a larger-than-life character. And Bob becomes our identifier to the people who are going to be using our experience, and then we can come up with the characters of in-game characters or the virtual reality characters which Bob is going to control or Bob is going to interact with. Because in virtual reality, Bob is going to be a presence, and in a game, Bob is going to be the controller, perhaps. It can be a first person, but still a control over a character, but it can be a second person or third person, and then the control is more avid. So this is sort of the background of what we'll be talking about basically in the next hour or so. Here in this PDF, we have some examples. For example, below some examples of anti-heroes from comics, film, television, and literature. We have Batman from DC, Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirate, Conan the Barbarian, Holden Caulfield from The Catcher in the Rye, Homer Simpson, Jay Gatsby from The Great Gatsby, Scarlett O'Hara from Gone with the Wind, Vito and Michael Corleone from The Godfather, and Wolverine from Marvel. And these are all anti-heroes from different productions. So what is the anti-hero? For example, let's start by defining the anti-hero through the hero. The hero in mythology is a mighty warrior who's often the son of a god or king and goes on an epic quest. So he is the goody-goody, he's the almighty, he's the person who is never in the wrong. Now, the thing is, sometimes the hero is not a hero per se. The hero can be a hero with a flaw. The hero with a flaw is a more human hero. So the hero is the almighty individual who can never commit a mistake, the almighty individual who, technically speaking, is superior in all ways and means to other human beings around him or her. But then there would be the anti-hero, which, technically speaking, is that hero who is also human. And that is someone who we can relate more to. And these are examples of such heroes. For example, in Batman, we know that Batman has quite a few weaknesses. He has pride, for example. He has competition. He does not stop. And also he has the weakness of pity. We have Captain Jack Sparrow, has a very weird sense of humor. Conan, who is very weak because he's a very gentle soul in a huge, massive, violent body, and so on and so forth. So the more we analyze, the more we can understand that there isn't just one type of character, and these characters can be as diverse as the clouds themselves or the stars themselves in the sky. There's the anti-hero, main character of a story who is flawed in some way. There's the tragic hero, main character of a tragedy whose tragic flaw leads to his or her destruction, like Macbeth, for example, in Shakespeare. And there's the Byronic hero from Byron himself, the poet. Rebellious main character who has a troubled past and indulges in self-destructive behaviors that threaten to doom him or her. Now, I would like to ask you to come up with an example of a Byronic hero. It's not easy. Let's go over it again. A rebellious main character who has a troubled past and indulges in self-destructive behaviors that threaten to doom himself or herself. So I would like to do a little exercise, a 5-minute exercise. I would like you to come up with a Byronic hero and explain why, in a couple of sentences, you consider him as a Byronic hero. Someone who goes against the trend, and by going against the trend because of his past, because of his troubled past, basically he is pushing himself onto the verge, onto the limits, his own limits, or herself, and over the edge. So, I'll give you 5 minutes, guys, and you try to look up a Byronic hero.
Okay, thanks.
Okay? Obviously, if you don't manage to come up with something, don't worry. But if I have at least 2 or 3, that would be great. Okay? I'll give you 5 minutes starting now. Thank you, guys. See you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers. guys, welcome back. So, any ideas? Who would like to go forward and start first?
I will start.
Yes, thank you.
Maybe Vegeta from Dragon Ball, because like
Okay, that's very interesting. Vegeta from Dragon Ball. Never thought of that one. Yes,
at
Yes,
the
he's.
beginning when he was younger, like he was only destructing words. Then
Yes.
he had like a radical change of heart, and you know,
So
I don't
the
know.
thing about Vegeta is that although you can see him as a Byronic hero because of his past and his evolution, he still evolved into an anti-hero rather than a Byronic hero. Because ultimately he did not remain the brooding individual that would ultimately carry him into his ultimate demise.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so he can be seen more of a Batman rather than that Byronic hero, rather than someone who is moving constantly towards destroying himself or herself. So that would be an example of an anti-hero.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Thank you, Maria. Someone else, please.
Maybe Sasuke
It's
from
Andrew. We
Naruto.
wrote it down on the chat.
Excuse me.
We wrote it down on the chat.
Okay, all right. Sherlock Holmes. Mela, I'll get to you, Luke. Mela, Sherlock Holmes doesn't follow any rules. He's brilliant but tends to alienate people or make others feel inferior to such an extent that it gets him into trouble. Deadpool literally breaks all rules. Mela, I do agree with Deadpool being the Byronic hero. Yes, absolutely. That's very good. But Sherlock Holmes is again Sherlock Holmes is again seen as more of an anti-hero and sometimes as also a hero. So he is. Yes, I think Sherlock Holmes will be more of an anti-hero because yes, of his alienation, of his quirky character. Yes, I believe Sherlock Holmes would be more of an anti-hero, while Deadpool is definitely par excellence a Byronic hero.
Okay, yes. Makes sense.
Thank you, Brigitte. Cowboy Bebop with regards to Alex, how interesting is that? Really has a troubled past. Of in the past, yes, definitely. Cowboy Bebop, and the fact he continues destroying himself because of his lost love, and there is no way back, and he does everything. Excuse me. Excuse me, guys. He does everything in his power to actually destroy himself, literally. He's always in the line of fire. He does crazy stuff, and yes, definitely a Byronic hero. Very good. Deadpool also Ryan Reynolds is so freaking funny. Exactly. My headphones are sadly out of battery. Won't be able to participate vocally. Don't worry, Alex. Important thing is that that you can hear us. Can you hear us? Just give us a thumbs up. Yep, brilliant. In fact, yesterday I saw Ryan Reynolds in a new Netflix production with. It's a very interesting time travel story. Have you watched it? It's a recent production. Any one of you? I love watching movies because obviously of what I do. Actually sometimes watching movies can be much boring, can be a bit weird in my case because I'm always studying movies. I don't really relax when I'm watching a movie. It's more of what's going on, what are they doing? Are they doing it like this or like that? That kind of attitude, which is sometimes tiring. Project Adam, that's it. I loved it. It's so emotional. It's so strong. It really tackles one of the main issues in most people, which is daddy issues, daddy problems. The father figure, the problem of the father figure. It really goes deep into it. And of course, I believe that Ryan Reynolds did an excellent job out of that. I don't know if you guys believe the same. You should watch it. You should definitely watch it because it is a rather cool story. It did have its weak points, its loopholes also perhaps. Remember, it's a time travel story, so time travel stories always have loopholes. But I think it was a quite a good watch, but an easy watch at the same time. Thank you, Alex. That was a brilliant example. Can I have someone else, perhaps? I think Luke was trying to say something.
Maybe Sasuke from Naruto.
Okay, I am not
Losing
really
his-
into Naruto, so you'd have to explain to me. I apologize. I apologize for not having the same tastes.
I think the first series was the Shippuden was based on Naruto trying to catch up to Sasuke to get him back to the village, and Sasuke first was a good guy, then turned bad guy, then turned back to being good. It's like a complicated story after he lost his family to spoilers alert to his brother.
Okay,
His brother killed his family.
It's
So
blood brother.
yes,
Say,
yes, blood brother. He just
not a half brother or.
no. Full brother.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. I must tell you that the Japanese have an uncanny way of exploring these kind of issues between brothers and families. You know, sort of, if you look deeper within manga and anime, you'll be astronomically surprised at how deep these psychological issues actually are taken, and sort of how seriously they're taken within manga and anime. An interesting example, Luke. Very interesting example. Thank you. Yes, from what you said, I can term him as a Byronic hero also. Indeed. Brilliant. Thank you all for your suggestions. Anyone else, perhaps? No? Okay. So let me give you a couple of examples myself. One of the examples that I love as a Byronic hero is Tony Stark, Iron Man. Tony Stark is seen sometimes as the prototype of the Byronic hero, as the modern Byronic hero. Technically speaking, he's a hero in the sense that he's attractive. He has a very strong charisma, a beautiful personality in reality, but he is very difficult to deal with. Because of the fact that he's moody, he has a lot of cynicism, and this boils down to arrogance, basically. So Tony Stark, and obviously again spoiler alert, it actually brings forth his demise at the end. But his demise is quite a heroic demise. Let's face that. But again, he's definitely a Byronic hero, and there were many fans who were very, very, very saddened at how Tony Stark ended up in the movie sequence. Another example is Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. He is again the epitome of the Byronic hero. Again, if you were to compare Dracula with Iron Man, with Tony Stark, you'll see a lot of commonalities. You see the brooding quality, you see the dark past, you see that he's been through a lot. He's also done a lot, and they're both extremely passionate, and they both are driving, in the fast lane towards their eventual demise. And my last example of Byronic hero would be Dorian Gray. Any idea who Dorian Gray is, guys?
The book, right?
There's the book and there's the movie. Watch the movie. It's the series, actually. Watch the series.
Oh,
No.
I've only read the book.
There's the movie, and there's also the book is amazing. Obviously, the book is the book. The book is the book. But then they did Dorian Gray, 2009 movie, very good story. And then there is a series. I forgot the name of the series. What's the name of the series? Okay, let's do the series with Dorian Gray. Let me see. Penny Dreadful, guys, please. I don't know what your likes and dislikes are with regards to films, but Penny Dreadful is an amazing watch. It's I think 2 or 3 seasons, and some very good actors. very strong actors. We have Eva Green, Josh Hartnett, Billy Piper, and there's also Dorian Gray within this particular story itself. And we get critics consent. Penny Dreadful second season maintains the show's intense, bloody drama, utilizing a vast array of fascinating characters and locale to tell a unique story. It's very unique. It's very skillfully shot. Very indeed. I totally agree. And what I loved about it is the way they get different stories from different times, very traditional stories like Dracula, for example, and they put him at par with Dorian Gray, for example. Sort of there's a lot of mix and max, how would you call it, mixing of characters, which really brings out the strengths and weaknesses of each character because of the superimposition of these characters. So that's, please take note, Penny Dreadful is definitely a movie that you'd want to watch. So those are 3 examples from my end. Okay, so we spoke a bit about characters. So this brings us to the PowerPoint per se. About character development, it's not a long PowerPoint, it's just over 25 slides. So the objectives of this slideshow is that we know the basic goals of character design in games, mainly because we're going to tackle games. But I would like you also to keep in mind that although we're tackling games, we are also pushing towards using this same characterization in the creation of user interfaces, UIs, and user experience. Recognize the difference between a player-defined avatar and a specific or non-specific avatar. Know the issues involved in making non-gender specific characters. Know the visual and behavioral attributes used to help create characters in games. Use techniques of either arts-driven or story-driven character design to create your own game characters. Now, remember, games or game characters can be replaced by anything else. User interface, user experience, web design, anything else, okay? So this can be literally removed and transposed with something different. Here we have the traditional character development sketch. So we have the brain, the mouth, right hand, left hand, Achilles heel, that's the weakness, eyes, shoulder, and heart. And obviously you're going to incorporate elements which are going to give more depth, more three-dimensionality to this character. When I say three-dimensional, it's about psychological three-dimensional rather than physical three-dimensionality. But remember that the psychological three-dimensionality actually increases the physical three-dimensionality. Because, for example, if you have a very, let's say, a character who is kind, who is quiet, who is morose, perhaps, who is a bit of a loner, who is very, 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 he doesn't like to speak much, doesn't like to participate much. He is very kind-hearted again. He's a bit of a puppy in a way. But then you put this character into this big, brawny, visually physical character. It creates this contrast which is strong, which is powerful, right? And this brings to mind, for example, Hodor, right, in Games of Thrones. You guys watched Game of Thrones?
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes. And you know who Hodor is?
Hold the door, Hodor.
Hold the door! Hold the
Oh, the
door!
door.
Spoilers.
Yeah, sorry. Wait, if you haven't watched
Yeah,
Game
don't
of
say
Thrones by
why.
now, huh?
Oh no,
Well, I mean, there's nothing like we didn't spoil it or we said nothing still.
It's just a tiny little anecdote. I see it. It's the explanation of what it's called Hodor. At the end of the day, it doesn't really have. Let's face it. Although the books are deep, but the series itself was, I think, a bit flimsy in its construction. I'm not going to go on about season 8. I'm really going on about the construction of all the seasons because they did not really do their best. I think after season 3 things started taking a downward turn. But that's my own subjective opinion, obviously. But sort of, you have those kind of characters. And you can even think about the character in Harry Potter. What's his name? The giant guy. Come on, guys, Harry Potter fans.
Hagrid.
Hagrid, thank you again. Big man, tiny heart, big heart rather, big man, bigger heart. But simple character, quiet character, a loner. Again, sort of these even create much deeper characters, because obviously you would see him and think one thing. So you have this contrast going on, which is very interesting. So Achilles heel, who has helped shape him? What is his or her weakness? So this is the roots, or what or who has helped shape him is the roots. Achilles heel is his weakness. What has he or she left behind in the left hand? What does he or she need to hold on to? What would be considered his or her right hand? His or her life up to this point. Heart, what does he or she care most about? What burdens does he or she carry? What does he or she worry about? How does he or she see the world in the eyes? What thoughts are circling in his head or her head? And memorable quote with regards to mouth. So these are all elements that are going to help you build the character and make the character stronger, more powerful, and more recallable. You remember the character, but it's not about remembering, it's about recalling the character. There's a difference in remembering and recalling. It's like in advertising. In advertising, if you remember a brand, that means you know the existence of the brand. But if you recall a brand, you don't know just about the existence, but there is some type of link, some type of communication which has gotten through to you as a consumer. And in fact, all these elements are used a lot in branding. There is a lot of branding and advertising and promotion and brand building because very recently, transmedia and storytelling have become very strong elements in brand building, because we have understood the importance of brand building. Brand building isn't just about a logo. Brand building isn't just about a tagline. Brand building isn't just about choosing a color or coming up with values. Brand building is about telling people who we are, what our history was, what were the difficulties that we encountered before we got to the point that we are. Who is Nike? Who is McDonald's? Who is Burger King? Who's I don't know, H&M? Any brand basically. Who's Zara? And when they start telling you about the brand, you start liaising more. You start becoming much more intrigued about the brand, and the brand becomes more your life. So yes, in branding, brands and branding, and advertising and promotion, characterization is of extreme importance. In marketing also, because obviously of the element of segmentation. And in segmentation, we need to analyze humans and find out where they fit so that we can target them with the right products. So going back to character design in gaming, UI, UX, and web design, games in many genres structure gameplay around characters. So basically you structure the world and you structure motion around the character himself. So the character should be the first thing that's created. Characters should be distinctive and credible, believable, because otherwise you lose immersion. The ultimate goal of character design is to create characters that people find appealing, believe in, and can identify with. And these are all elements that are going to increase immersion. The relationship between the player and the avatar. Now, the player is the user, the avatar is the player himself. Now let's look at it with regards to UI, UX, and web design. The player would be the program, the application, the software, and the player is the user. Excuse me, apologies. The player is the user. Okay, so the person who's using that software or application, and the avatar would be the application itself. The application would be what the player is interacting with. So basically, we need to think up an image of the player. So we adapt the avatar in a way. So adapt the application, we adapt the user interface, we adapt the design of the web in a way which will facilitate the travels, the journey of the player. We might say, aren't you dramatizing, sort of, if you have a vending machine which is selling Coke, and soft drinks and so on and so forth, aren't you dramatizing this relationship? There are the simple applications such as a vending, and then there are the more complex applications. For example, a website. A website needs so much work done with regards to color theory, with regards to fonts used, with regards to placing of elements, with regards to heat mapping to ensure that everything is correlating. There is a sense of interaction throughout the web itself, not just particular pages. so that it becomes much more intense, so that you really need to know the role of the player in that particular instance. So relationships varies from game to game. Factors that affect relationship: did the player design the avatar? Is the avatar visible? How is the avatar controlled? Moving on. Player creates the physical attributes, player creates the personality. So it's both of them, not just one, and they both are very much interdependent. There is the non-specific avatar. There's also the specific avatar. The non-specific would be assumed to be the player himself. So appearance, personality are undefined, very limiting to the designer and common in early text-based games, because obviously there is no visuals. Specific avatars, detailed characters with histories and personalities used in games with graphics and strong storylines. So obviously we have an evolution of gaming, and we have, for example, the likes of Wolfenstein 3D, we have the likes of Prince of Persia, where we have simple characters but with quite deep storylines, which are ongoing. Mechanisms, we have indirect control and direct control. So in indirect control, the player clicks where the avatar should go. In indirect control, so the player is a guide to the avatar. The player acts as that individual who is helping the avatar achieve a quest. Direct control, the player steers the avatar, the player is the avatar. So the player is either moving the other avatar around, or the player is not just face-facing, but the player is, for example, a VR sequence where the player is the avatar himself. He is moving within the space. He takes decisions. He's not controlling the avatar, like, for example, in games such as Doom 3D, all right, controlling the avatar, or in Assassin's Creed, for example. So the first person, it's a third person, but still, there's the controlling of the avatar. So it's more than that.
That's still first person, when you're like in VR. In that case, is it first person? Is it first? Yeah.
Yes, it's still considered as space facing. But obviously, there's a difference between the VR used in Doom, for example, and the VR which you use in VR games. So technically, when you have a first facing game, it's much easily adaptable to virtual reality. So first person is much more easily adapted to virtual reality, because instead of controlling the character using a keyboard, you control the character by moving around yourself. Or else you have, for example, a chair, or you can use control still, but in that case you are moving around yourself in a given space. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Male and female players. Male players do not identify strongly with their avatars. Men tend to treat avatars as puppets. They do not really relate to the avatar. The avatar is something to actually torture. In a way, I've seen so many YouTube videos where avatars are made to do things which are so weird, especially in, what's the name of the game?
Grand Theft Auto or
Grand
Goat.
Theft Auto. Oh my god!
It's Goat Simulator. It's literally like you have a goat which is a ragdoll.
Literally, it is. I think at times it's verging on sick. With all due respect, but at times it's verging on sick. Literally. The things that avatars are made to do are appalling. There's a couple of academic papers on the ethics of treating avatars in that way. You tell me, but isn't the avatar just a creation? Yes, it is. But the problem is when the user, the player, is actually representing the avatar, or rather, identifying the avatar with someone that he wants to torture, but he can't torture in real life. Are you understanding me?
Yeah, makes sense.
Imagining his ex in an avatar. You know what I mean? So that obviously starts going beyond a particular ethical threshold. Because when people get carried away in this way, sometimes they start losing the sense of reality, perhaps.
Yeah, in Saints Row, for example, it's a side quest. There's a side quest like being a ragdoll and destruction.
Mhm.
but it doesn't make sense. So I mean,
Yes, I totally agree. But then again, the makers have discovered ways and means of how to pull more users by giving them these abilities. So these are marketing strategies in a way, just to get more users to be able to do whatever they want. Let's face it, ultimately they've given them quite some freedoms, and by doing this they can create videos on YouTube, and obviously they are advertising, indirectly advertising the game itself, and so obviously it continue increasing games. So this definitely has to do with ethics, and I'm not going into ethics in gaming because that is an enormous quest. Trust me, I definitely don't want to go into ethics in gaming, but an interesting discussion nonetheless. Women, on the other hand, we have two in the house. We have Bridget and Maria. Unless any of the guys identify as a female. Anyone? Just saying. I'm kidding, guys. Please don't answer that question. That was a totally politically incorrect question. I hope you took it as a joke. Please confirm that you took it as a joke.
You know, it's all right if someone wants to identify as a woman. That's all right. No.
Okay, no, but I don't want anyone to get offended. Just the moment I said it, I said, "Oh my God, Joe, why did he say that someone might actually get offended?" Because it's normal nowadays, sort of that people identify as different things. In fact, someone was watching with my wife, and Just Like That, which is the sequel of. Oh, Alex, I'm a 14-year-old with regards to my collection. I'm literally a child. Today, I just committed another sin. I went to check for some toys. Let's call them toys, but collectible items of Batman at a local shop for my older son, because he has literally come out as a photocopy of me when it comes to collecting. And I fell into buying two figures of Warcraft, Black Hand and Durotan. They're awesome. I love them. I've been wanting to get them, but on eBay they were so expensive. And this guy had them for like 25 euros each, which was so cheap. I had to get them. Now, how to tell the wife that I spent more money? My God, I'm spending so much money. I'm literally a 14-year-old all my life, so I totally understand that, Alex. So I had started the story. Yes. So Just Like That is the sequel of Sex and the City. Anyone watch Sex and the City? Guys?
Yes. Not
Yeah.
the sequel, but yeah, the series.
Yes. It's I think 20 years later, something like that, when they're in their 50s.
No, I only saw the original show.
Oh, you watched the original show, Sex and. You know that the sequel is out, right? And it's called And Just Like That.
Oh, no, I'll check it out. Okay.
Yes, it's awesome. It is awesome, and I think it's all right. It's not as good as the original, but I think I identified a lot because obviously, let's face it, I'm middle aged now. So you see yourself in them when they were in their 30s, and you see yourself in them when you're approaching 50s. They're in their 50s. I'm still not there, but I identified a lot, and I was like, oh my God. I won't say anything. I won't spoil it for you. But it's great. But they do really go into this idea of gender identification. It's very interesting, and you learn a lot. It's quite educational, I'd say. So back to the PowerPoint. Women identify with their avatars. Women tend to treat avatars as extensions of themselves, so they obviously treat their avatars with care. It's an opportunity for self-expression. To make a game more attractive to women, allow them to customize the avatar. So any guys in the house who like to customize avatars have female traits, which is good. Because that means you are more in touch with your feminine side. So that means your partner most probably appreciates you even more. So don't be afraid of being in touch with your feminine side. Okay, guys? Luke, Jamie, Gavin, Alex.
capish.
It's just some advice from someone who's older. I'm assuming that I'm older than all of you. Yes, I am for sure. But you don't get hard. Oh, I try. Designing your avatar character. Let's ask some questions. How do you want the player to relate to the avatar? How do you want the user to relate to the experience? How do you want the user to relate to the device? Select the control method. What is the user going to use? Is the user going to, in gaming, going to use a keyboard? Is the user going to use a gaming control? Is the user going to use hand motions, perhaps? And in UI, is the user going to use touch or not? All right. Select the appearance and personality unless the player designs the avatar. More details create more independence. Select qualities the player will find appealing. Here we go. The whole chart. It's tiny, but you'll find it in Moodle. You can download it and you can actually have a read. So over here we have the characters. So I have names of different characters: El Cuervo, the Frenchman, One-Eye Jack, the Beard, Big M, and the Paloma. We have the full name: Eduardo Vargas Eddy, the role or purpose, age, sex, ethnicity, first appearance, main goal, occupation, motivation, inner need, flaw, backstory, core trait, good, bad habits, secret, skills, knowledge and props, quirks, attitude, dialogue style, and celeb lookalike. And all these are elements which are going to give you a huge in-depth analysis of the character themselves. And this is how a character evolves. You can have characters which are static versus dynamic characters, protagonists, antagonists, and foils, internal versus external personal conflicts, internal versus external motivations, characters' goals, values, and beliefs, and characters' development and growth. So you need to move from the beginning and straight up and tackle each level. And this is very much in a way like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Do you have any awareness of that? Maslow's, Abraham Maslow. The hierarchy of needs. Anyone?
Yes, I studied it before.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I do have an idea. It's basically applies to most things, although it can be considered as more general than other types of theories. So, because there's also others, but anyway.
Can you repeat the last part, please?
Because this theory, it's a good theory. It can be applied to most things, but there are other theories that got developed after it, or basically continued with it, which are, in my opinion, better. But
Yes.
to be honest, I forgot their name. So
There's Likert. There's
yes, exactly.
Likert theory. There's also
There are more, I'm sure, because it's been a long time since I studied them. It was like, I think, 7 years ago.
So you must have studied management, I'm assuming, right?
Psychology.
Or psychology, yes, because obviously psychology is a strong element of management. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So basically, Maslow's hierarchy of needs takes us through a similar pyramid, where at the very basic level over here we have the most basic of needs, like air and water and sex, and then we go to the second level. Let me find an image which will give you a better idea, actually, because that would Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory. Images, here we go. Okay, let's find now the simpler one. There we go. So there's the physiological needs: air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction. Safety needs: person, security, employment, resources, health and property, love and belonging, friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection, esteem, respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength and freedom. This all depends on others. Self-actualization, desire to become the most that one can be, which would be basically dependent on yourself rather than on others. So that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so this is quite similar in a way. It starts for the most basic and moves up and becomes more complex and becomes sort of gives more depth to the character himself or herself. Then there's the art-driven character and the story-driven character. The art-driven character is obviously the visualization of the character. The story-driven character would be the best method for more complex characters. So basically, aside from the visualization, we have more storytelling in the process to give more enhancement to why the character exists and what the character saga is. Excuse me. Excuse me. Whoa. That came out of nowhere. Character physical traits. Characters fall into three generic categories. This is more gaming oriented. Humanoids, non-humanoids, and hybrids. So humanoids have physical features like humans, non-humanoids shaped like vehicles, machines, animals, monsters. So basically, if we take, for example, Pixar's Monsters, Inc. or Sausage Party. Have you ever watched Sausage Party, anyone?
That's hilarious.
I saw the trailer.
You don't want to watch the whole movie, trust me. I was head over heels in shock. It is so blunt, blatant, over the top, but it's hilarious at the same time. Again,
First, when I saw it, I mean, they didn't tell me that it's like an adult movie, so I thought it's something.
oh my god. I watched it with my older son when he was 13. Obviously, when we get to the first 5 minutes, you already start realizing, this is not what we thought it was. But the problem is then you can't send him off because obviously you're going to put him in a position where he wants to watch it even more. So he's still going to watch it. So our choice was either he watches it with us and we make fun of it in a way that sort of we actually make it sound better and totally normal, sort of nothing out of the ordinary, or else we allow him to watch it by himself and obviously, put it in a bit of a, how would you say it? I don't know, but make it more, even more weird. So you can imagine it wasn't exactly the best part of my life. Yes, non-humanoids, hybrids beings such as mermaids, human-machine combinations, so on and so forth. Art-driven characters are usually stereotypes. Most common character stereotypes are cool, tough, cute, or goofy. Here we go. All right, so automatically, once you look at the character, you immediately get an idea. And I think this can be seen very, very well in, let me give you an idea, the Daltons. Anyone ever heard about the Daltons? Daltons are, there we go, part of Lucky Luke, the bad guys in Lucky Luke. And when you look at them, sort of, although you see the same faces, but the length over there gives an indication that there's a difference. And in fact, what happens is this guy is the most intelligent of them all, the small guy. So he's short on height, but very, very, very keen on intelligence. And technically, the higher up you go, the more dumb they become. This is the actual live action of the Daltons. Very well represented in this French live action movie, Les Daltons. Quite interesting. It's quite a cool watch, actually. Okay, moving on. Next slide. Hypersexualization is exaggerated sexual attributes of characters. We saw this happening also in comics, where you see females which are given bodies which are to die for and probably impossible because they need to live literally in a gym 6 hours a day, 24/7, 7 days a week. And also sort of the way they're drawn, sort of men and women are hypersexualized. Sort of men are made with enormous upper bodies, 8-packs and 12-packs, and females are obviously made with very prominent attributes which are there solely to attract male lust, because usually gaming is associated, let's face it, to a male genre rather than a female one, which is obviously wrong. Okay, but that is the traditional opinion that has found itself over time. Avoid hypersexualized characters because obviously they're cliched, they appeal only to a puerile audience, and they may turn off part of your target audience. This is some characterization over here. Clothing, weapons, symbolic items, and names. Accessories are important. Accessories give more detail, give more depth, give more association. For example, in The Witcher, I was reading about the army of the armies, of the bad armies. Let's go to The Witcher, evil army. There was a
Wild
whole...
Hunt. The Wild Hunt.
Exactly. Here we go. They are made to resemble... I was reading about them. I forgot exactly what I read, but I know that they were made black to signify darkness, obviously. Even the way their armor is created is made to simulate dragon scales. So armor usually is a signifier of a deeper aspect of the storytelling process. It's not just there because it's there, obviously. Even if you look, for example, Elven Army, LOTR. There we go. The elves in Lord of the Rings. This is the two towers. Obviously, over here you can see sort of very beautiful regalia. You see it also in The Hobbit. And then if you look at, for example, the Dwarven army in Lord of the Rings. Let me see the actual... Yep, there we go. All right. The armor is much more box-like. While with the elves it was more leaf-like because they live in forests. These live in under the ground, so the weapons are more chunky. Okay. So here we have a character sheet with the character from the front, armor, and details, and slight adaptations in details with regards to the pauldrons over here. Color palette and sidekicks. Use a signature color for the main character. This can also be applied to anything else. Color is very important, color theory. What colors are you going to mix and match? Which colors are the most attention grabbers and not? Choose a color palette to reflect a character's attitudes and emotional temperament. Color theory again. Sidekicks offer several benefits. They allow you to give the player additional moves and actions, extend the emotional range. They can be used to give the player information he couldn't get any other way. And I think one of the best ever sidekicks in the history of TV and games and books is the sidekick of The Witcher. What's his name? Witcher sidekick. Jaskier. He's colorful. He's funny. He's brilliant. Even the way sort of this is in the game, right? This is in the game. In the game, he's like the colorful tonality in the game. He's the only presence of color. He's the only presence of myth. He's the only presence of fun. Okay, it's the way he speaks, the way he moves. You know, but even the movie, they managed to do an amazing rendition of him. Although he's not as colorful, he's still quite effective. But you can see the extreme difference between, for example, Jaskier and The Witcher over here. Okay. Moving on, creating character depth. You can convey a lot about the character through appearance, but not everything. If you begin character design with the character's role, personality, and behavior, you're doing story-driven character design. You decide these things first, and then let artists develop a visual experience. So you first plan the character, as we saw before, and then there is the artistic development based on what the understanding is from the artistic perspective. Every character in a game plays a role. To design characters, you have to envision them in your mind and answer many questions about them. And tell people to ask questions, ask questions. Why is he good? Why is he bad? Why is he tall? Why is he short? Create a background there, or character background paper for major characters. Show character personality through appearance, language, behavior. Attributes are the data values that show a character's location, health, property. Attributes can be divided into status attributes that change frequently, characterization attributes that change infrequently. So you have different ways of how these attributes can improve your character and can define your character even more. Dimensionality, 0-dimensional, 1-dimensional, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional. 0 displays only discrete emotional states. 1-dimensional, single variable. 2-dimensional characters described by multiple variables, but they are more impulsive, and these impulses do not really conflict. 3-dimensional characters are very human-like because they have impulses which conflict. For example, when you need to take a decision in life. Right, obviously you're going to have a lot of conflict in you because you might hurt someone in making yourself happy, or in making someone else happy you might hurt yourself. Character growth, a game that aspires to be more than a simple adventure, must include character growth. To build character growth into a game, decide which characters will grow and how will they grow. Physical growth is obviously something which is very important. We see it happening in one of the proteges of The Witcher, for example, because it is easy to show and implement. Sure, personality growth is something which takes much more time and much more energy. Many stories that follow the hero's journey follow the archetypal characters, and we went through those archetypes. The two best proponents of character archetypes would be Joseph Campbell and Carl Jung. Audio design is something that you're doing with Jonathan, if I'm not mistaken, because audio is something which is also propitious in the styling of a character, because usually in film or in games we get individuals which are usually accompanied by some type of catchy tune or some type of morose tune, perhaps, to reflect the mood of the character. So basically, we have gone through the designing of a character, distinguishing about different types of avatars, how to make a character non-gender specific. Is quite important, especially as time goes by. We're becoming much more aware of that. How to visualize the behavioral attitudes in a more visual sense, in a sense that you can actually see on paper or in 3-dimensionality, how to create art-driven or story-driven characters, and how sound can amplify the usefulness and the depth of character. Ladies and gents, that is the end of our journey. Obviously, I'll give you some time to ask away, clarify any issues that might have popped up in the meanwhile. So, floor is yours. Anyone?
Any questions?
Yeah. Nothing? Brilliant.
No, it all makes sense. It's good.
Super great. This subject is not difficult at all. It's mostly common sense. It's mostly things that you have seen. It's mostly things that it was there just to make you wonder, perhaps, just to make you think a bit more. Remember that I will be sending you in the next couple of days your project marked and obviously with some comments. Please remember to use that project in your exam, because some questions are based on that, as we have already discussed. And I do strongly suggest that you go the extra mile and observe. Next time you watch a movie, next time you read a book, next time you read a comic, next time you play a game, start observing more about what you're seeing, and you will start, without realizing, you start learning, and you'll be carried away into an entirely different and beautiful world. I hope you enjoyed these sessions. I hope that they did, how would you say, that they did in some way amplify your knowledge, and I hope they were of interest in some way or another. I thank you so much for your attention. I wish you luck in your exams, obviously. I wish you the best of luck. And I hope to see you around. And I wish you not just luck in your exams, but the best of luck in your futures. Thank you so much for your attention, guys. It's been a pleasure.
So, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, sir.
so much. This
Cheers,
is so
Kevin.
good.
Thank you.
Your
very-
lectures,
Thank
thank
you.
you. They were very interesting. So
Thank you,
Yes.
Maria.
We'll have more, sir. Like I think there, because I saw visual
Next-
2. There's next year.
Next year there's Visual 2, but Visual 2 you'll be doing with Liki Teuma, because I just gave him my lectures this year. He started. I mentored him into and it's a very interesting subject. He's an excellent teacher because he goes into Blender also. He goes into more technical elements. So if you guys are interested in becoming more artistic, if you have a bit of an artistic side, you don't need to be artist, just an artistic side. So you appreciate the artistic around you. I do suggest taking Visual 2, but next year I will be meeting you most probably in Storytelling 1. Storytelling 1 is one of my pet subjects, one might say. Very interesting. Very interesting. So I might see you guys there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you guys. Take care, everyone. Good luck.
Bye. Good
Cheers.
evening.
Likewise. Bye-bye.